Welcome to our very first season of Life on Track, where it's all about helping you get into the driver's seat of your own life, not anybody else's life, your life, personally and professionally. I'm your host, Erin, and I'm so excited for this interview. I'm so excited to have Don Green here. And I'm going to introduce Don. I'm going to read his bio because I don't want to leave anything out. This man is incredible. So Don is the flagrant American business entrepreneur, having built a successful savings bank, a real estate enterprise, and a host of other small and successful businesses in Southwestern Virginia prior to his latest career with the Napoleon Hill Foundation. As CEO of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, Don Green has energized the works of the famed author with a host of new books by noted authors, demonstrating how the principles of the late Mr. Hill worked to advance the individual in network with others around the globe. He has demonstrated unique determination to expand knowledge of Mr. Hill's motivational work the world over. Moreover, Don is a new global entrepreneur. He has become one of the leading evangelists of entrepreneurial self-help through the proper utilization of Mr. Hill's keys to success and Think and Grow Rich. He is accepting of non-traditional ideas, change, and foresight, tempered and bounded only by positive action. Don is a realist with visionary outlook. Welcome, Don. Welcome to Life on Track. I'm so excited you're here.
You're just so happy. You got personality plus. I enjoy doing these. I enjoy the stories. I wish I could. All there's so many of them. I mean, there's just so many stories just over and over, and I could relate some of them or whatever. But it's just of course you can tell. Look, I'll be 81 years old in a few days.
You look fabulous.
Somebody would say, "Why you still do what you're doing?" One is I take care of myself. We never know how long we're here. We lost a good friend, Bob Proctor, a couple of days ago, and also Ed Foreman. I don't know where you knew Ed. Ed was a fabulous. He was twice congressman, once from Texas and once from New Mexico. Me and her at a very early age in the oil industry, but he went around the country talking. He was very inspirational, and when he would have the events, he or his secretary would call me and say, "Send this many keys to success, Think and Grow Rich," and they give me the address where he was be speaking. And of course, that kind of stopped with the COVID virus. But Ed was a tremendous individual. And I was with him a few times, and as was Bob Proctor. In fact, we just recently did a contract with Bob and Nightingale calling it, and I got a call from his office. I guess yesterday, and I was in a board meeting, and I couldn't handle it, but I texted him and I could talk to him on Monday. Yeah, it's a wonderful life. And if you want to ask how I got into it,
yes, I do. It's always my first question with everybody. How did you start doing it, and why?
Well, I guess the start of it I thought was a need of money. My mom and dad grew up in the Depression. He was one of 10 kids. She was one of 16. A single verse. And all of them made it through. But mom and dad went to seventh grade, and I asked her once why she only went to seventh grade. The teacher only went to seventh grade. There wasn't a high school nowhere in the area, and there was no school buses. And so, the girls got married, and the boys went to work in the coal mines. And that was it. And that was her life. And they made good living. But gosh, I love to read books. And one summer I was working up in West Virginia. I believe I was getting 75 cents. Mom didn't know what I was doing, my brother and I. And we were actually he was old enough to drive. We were pulling mining steel out of an old abandoned mines. And it's expensive, there still is, but all we had to do is unbolt the rails. There was no electricity, no nothing. We had to have our lights. And we had to unbolt them because the rails were like 20 foot long. We had to unbolt them. Sometimes we had to saw them off. We'd drag them outside. It was only about 40 inches high, so you can imagine you could not stand up, more or less crawling. But something just come to me. I had read that the underground coal miner's life expectancy was about 20 years. And just something come to me, Don, your dad and these gold guys made a living for their families and they fed them well, but they killed themselves doing it. And these people you've been reading them books, they've been using their mind to make money, and often big monies. And so I just got absorbed in the material over and over and over. I could so many stories about it. But I read books, and I can remember asking Mom for $8 to join the Boy Scouts. Oh, honey, we can't waste our money. Your daddy crawls around them old mines. And said, "Won't you go mow your uncle's yard? Don't he pay you a quarter?" Yeah, he did, and push more. But I learned to. I pick up pop bottles. My brothers and I would walk miles with a sack, penny a piece. And I got up to more than the $8 I needed, but I earned that money. I decided I didn't need the Boy Scouts. I learned to make money at an early age. I mean, at everything from getting mistletoe out of the trees and holly and cutting Christmas trees on federal land with a handsaw and dragging them out, building a fire side of the road. When we was out of school for Christmas, I spent my time before school turned out figuring out how much money we'd make. I had my money, I had it set on it, and I just learned some things. I had a desire then. I had a need for the money if I wanted anything, but I enjoyed it, and all the ventures I went into. I started out in the finance business, and $1.15 an hour. But Lord, I just loved it. I was a collector outside. They paid me 7.5 cents a mile for use of my car. You know where it gets you today. But they furnished us books. I could take courses on market and free market and economics and different subjects that went along with what I was studying. And so, I would tell other kids I was going to be a bank president. At an early age, my cousin said, "You crazy? You get a job in the mines and you can retire after 20 years and draw 500 and some dollars a month." And that was basically their life. That's all they looked forward to. And they had a coal miner mentality. And I'm not talking about the coal miner. We're not coal miner area. But they had a company store. They had a company doctor. They had a company house. They had a company water. And when they got phones, they had company phone. And anything they needed, all they had to do was work. They never thought, and most of them, are doing anything else or whatever, or further their education because they thought they was making a good living. Them days are gone. Them days are gone. And I just, had a zoo when I was a kid. When I was in high school, I made a lot of money.
You said you had a zoo? A zoo?
I had a zoo. I actually learned how to catch rattlesnakes from this guy with Florida Indian. Put them in and charged a quarter, and kids only charged a dime. And then I started selling some souvenirs on the side. And during the summers, I accumulated so much money over them summers I was in high school. My oldest brother had gone on, and he was buying him a house. I didn't loan him money for the whole house, but I loaned him enough money for the down payment and the closing costs, and me still in high school. And there were just so many things. A lot of the kids' parents had money, and this was I graduated in '59, so in '54 and '55, that's when the T-Birds come out and the Corvettes, and that girl they always driving me. And I bought a '36 Ford from this old widow woman for $300, one owner. It's 36 model, and I was as proud as that if it had been a Rolls Royce because I bought it. And it was the best dating car on earth because it had curtains on the windows. And you go to drive-in theater, and they had to go around the windshield or look in to see you. So I was so proud of that thing.
Yes.
But those things just stuck with me. And I learned some other lessons when I was doing them pop bottles. Of course, my mom and dad were both giving people, and this guy, he had a little sign on the glass there, and it said, "I complained because I had no shoes." Until one day I met a man who had no feet, and I was probably 9 or 10 years old, but that stuck with me. That we get in a position we're supposed to help other people, and that's just my passion. But reading these books, and I know you had mentioned it. If you want me to explain how you end up in this position, I was a bank president when I was 41 years old for 18 years, and our chairman of the board said I was the best banker in the state of Virginia. I don't know where it was or not, but we made a lot of money. It was broke when I started. They only had $35,000 in capital, and they had lost $1.5 million 2 years before, and they let the guy go. And I didn't know it then, but other people turned them down because they knew it was a virtual collapse, and I was naive, I guess. And I sat down and wrote what all I wanted. But prior to that, I left the finance business. I had a call one day from my good friend, Jim Brown. Jim had started a bank when he was 29 years old. And he'd been there a year, and they got criticized by the examiners for lack of management. In other words, they had a president, or a CEO, but they didn't have any debts. They had tellers. They didn't have a credit card set up, and they issued what they call cease and desist orders. That's bad in the banking because you can't add to your outstanding. You can't buy equipment. You got to get permission to basically do everything. And so Jim called me, and he said my name was given to him, and I was working in the finance business. Said I might could fill in. And I said, well, yeah, but sir, I heard something away. I would be glad to come over and do an interview. He said, can you come one day this week? And I said, no, Jim, the people I work for is good to me. I can come on a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon. And so we arranged an interview. And here's what he told me it was in 1975, which was 47 years ago, I believe. Yeah, I remember it like it was 5 minutes ago. He said, Don, and he's read the books, okay? He's read the books. He said, you do a little extra one day, it won't matter. You do a little extra for a week, probably nobody notices it. But if you'll continue to do more than the other people around you, I promise you, one of these days you're going to be the success that most of the world just dreams about. And so I worked at his bank as a second person, and actually was in charge 8 years, and they sold out to a large company, which is now Bank of America. But he saw in that agreement, in the selling thing, that I had a job. And I worked at it a year, and I had these other banks contacting me, offering these positions. And that's the savings bank was on the verge of collapsing. I didn't know how close it was, but I was naive and was willing to work hard and whatever. We made 90,000 the first year, and then I think the second year it was 400,000, and a couple of 3 years we were up to the $1 million mark. And after 18 years, the old guys, they wanted to sell the bank. But in the meantime, you said how you end up with this position. Well, I was reading these books and so forth. I took a mail order course or material, $195, and I learned about of course, I'd read the books, and I found about the foundation. I took that course. And so I wrote them, I went and spoke one night at a Presbyterian church at the Historical Society in Pound, Virginia. That's where Napoleon Hill was born. And people didn't even know who he was. But on the way back, I had been listening to audio tapes. It's about a 10-minute drive. And I listened to them. When I got home, I took a pad out off my nightstand, and I wrote a letter to the foundation out in longhand. And I gave it to a girl I work with at the bank, and she mailed it out, and they invited me to Chicago to have lunch with their board. And I did, and I couldn't wait to meet W. Clement Stone. He's a billionaire, and he basically saved the foundation. He put $500,000 in it and got the thing going, got the book rights and publishing and so forth and so on. And so we had lunch, and we talked, and I waited till he came in and sat down so I could sit down beside him because I wanted to ask him questions. I mean, I was thrilled. And of course, I didn't need a position by then. I'm a bank president by then. Right. And he told, I remember he called me boy. He said, boy, I believe you know more about these books than I do. He said, you ought to be a board member. And I said, what do I have to do, Mr. Stone? Everybody called him Mr. Stone, okay, except Ronald Reagan. I got a picture on the wall where you can't see it. It's Mr. Stone in the White House with Ronald Reagan, and he dressed at Kim to my friend Clem, and nobody else called him that. But he was a big supporter of Reagan. But anyway, and I just attended the meetings. It was a non-paying board job. But then the only other guy that been there, he got up in years, and we had a chance to sell the bank, and I knew that position was open, and they had told me. And of course, I didn't tell them that I was not going to work in Chicago. I waited till the position was empty, and I'll take the job. I got to move it to Wise because I don't want to live in Chicago. And said, can you do that? I said, yeah, I got the books. All I need is transfer the money. And so I had one of the businesses I was in I had a dry cleaning business because I wore a suit every day. I didn't like the local dry cleaners. It was old. I spent $39.95 to order a book.
I love you.
Hick magazine to say how to run a dry cleaner. I found out that women love to drive in at a cleaners so they didn't have to take their kid out of the car, so they
Yeah.
didn't wear them out. And so I got the idea. I already had the land, and and there was some things like putting up a bag with Erin would come in and first time I would give you a with your clothes. I would give you a I guess it's polyester, just a drawstring that you put all your clothes in, and it'd have your name on it. It'd have Erin, and then it would say likes her blouses lightly starched, or every conditions you want on them. And
Wow.
so when somebody else dropped them off, their husband or what have you, or was the instructions on how to do their clothes. And
I
we
love
did we did one day to if they come in by 10 o'clock, I get it the same day. So I hired this lady who worked at one of the other cleaners because I needed somebody with experience, bought all the equipment, new building. And so when I was, the company sent them in to train us as new equipment. And and I said, now Juanita, we're going to do 1 day service. We can't do that. I said, well, I don't know a lot about the cleaning, but we're going to open at 7. We're going to close at 7. We'll staff it. You won't have to work there the whole time. We'll have somebody cover the counter, them buyers. I said, but let me ask you something another. If I come down here on the way to the bank, say 7:30, and I leave you 4 white shirts, how long does it take you to get them done? I'm talking about washing them, laundering them, starching them, and ironing them, put them right. About 3 hours. Okay, I'm gonna drop off a couple of suits same time, and that's a different process, dry cleaning. How long would it take you to do some suits? About 4 hours. Okay, why don't we do them when they come in instead of throwing them over on the floor and walking on them and then wait until the day before they're picked up? Because I didn't need the clothes, but they would say, but some people do, and they'd say, you take them in on Thursday, and they say next Thursday, okay. Well, that's just the way they operated.
Yeah.
I learned a lot of stuff. I mean, just we never spent a nickel to advertise. We charged more. How did we do it? Well, the sign said the cleaners. It was at an intersection on a 4 lane. We had the property, and it was on the road that the attorneys all go to the courthouse. It was heavily traveled area. The sign out front said the cleaners. That's what the bag had on it, the cleaners. So if you told your husband take his clothes to the cleaners, that was us, not
Yeah.
the mother. And there was so many lessons. I was down there one evening. I went to a school called J.J. Kelly, and at that time when I went, they probably had 125 or more band members. And I was stopped down there one evening, and because they was open till 7, and there's about 5 or 6, I don't remember how many of them, little girls, high school girls. They had their band uniforms. It was in the fall, getting them cleaned up. And they giggling, little girl, 13, 14-year-old.
Right.
I said, hey girls, we're not going to charge you nothing to clean them uniforms. You're not? No, no, no. And I said, them others band members, tell them that we clean them free, and we'll clean theirs free also. And when that little girl left, my manager said, we're going to go broke. I said, do you believe that Don Green and his partner, Wendell Barnett, is going to go broke? I mean, that's another story. Wendell, I could write a whole book, but he is in that book, 101 Attributes. But he took my course in 1998. I taught this stuff to the University of Virginia's an I course. It wasn't for the money. I just wanted the kids to understand it. He took my course. It's the only course he took. And he had a little story. He said he made $3.20 the first day. I loaned him $75,000 to buy a second store. And I told him it was for sale. He said, I don't have $75,000. I said, I'll loan it to you. He said, you're crazy. I loaned it to him, and I did the second one. But anyway, after 20 some odd years, he got up to 74 convenience stores, and he sold out for $45 million.
Whoa, Don, let me just there's
Huh?
so much that I want to say to this. First of all, you're saying so much amazing stuff that people need to hear. Like everything that you've done, that you've talked about so far, you had a definite of purpose. You knew exactly what you wanted. Even though you were naive or whatever, you knew exactly what you wanted. And you became exceptional because you didn't walk in there and just do anything like haphazard, like you really gave it your best and you went above and beyond. And these are so many lessons for people to hear, as you're speaking. And then there's the girls, like you gave back also. You did the charity work, or what. It's not about going broke. It's the law of reciprocity. Like you did that for the girls at school. How can people today, with the pandemic, with your wisdom, with all of what you know, and everything that you've done, how can people get started today and turn their dreams into success the way you were
Well,
talking about it?
the purpose is the first thing. So many people concentrate on making money. Eventually that's the outcome of it. In most cases, unless you're just doing strictly charity work. But to find something other, for example, one of the things that we developed, my partner and I did, was spring water. Okay, and that was many years ago, and it was just starting. We stopped at one of Wendell's convenience stores on a Saturday. We was golfing, and the guy running the food cart, he had a whole bunch of stores, he men, and this guy said, his name was Jerry. Jerry said, Wendell said, I heard you boys is going to start selling spring water. And Wendell said, yeah, we thinking about it. We had bought 92 acres of land that had water that come out of the rocks on the Virginia Kentucky line, and it was on farms or nothing on it, just in woods. And we knew about the water, and we had it tested and so forth. And he said, yeah. I said, you don't think people's going to pay for water, do you? I mean, now see, and I know already there's a spring water association located in Arlington, Virginia. I got a lot of data on it. For example, to sell spring water and call it spring water, you have to bottle it at the source. In other words, you can't get a bunch of water, put it in a tanker, and take it somewhere or pipe it somewhere. It has, and so we knew that, and I went and got a bottle designed, and I was going to put on a bottle from this rocks, cool water comes forth as a verse out of the Bible. And we visited one. It was Mark McGuire, the guy that hit 61st home run. He had him and some NFL players, they had a place up off of Blue Ridge Parkway, about an hour and something from here. We visited, me and my buddies, we visited him on the way to a bank meeting or something other. And we had the water tested and so forth. Well, we got to the point we did a thing to filtration. You got to filter out if it's got leaves or sand or something like that. And the nearby town contacted us and wanted our water supply. They didn't have adequate water supply. So I think we gave $175,000 for the land. We sold the rights to the water and got our money back. And then they paid us, God, it was in with another thing and all. They paid us several $1,000s a month for 15 years. And then they developed their own water, and they didn't need our water supply no more. So we didn't want to cut the timber off of it. It was a lot of nice woods and all that. So one of our friends, Dr. Smitty, who was a partner, he was on the board down at the Lincoln Memorial University. That was a university that was set up on the Cumberland Gap for supposedly to honor the people that fought on the north instead of the south. And it's a university today. So that 92 acres, we gave it to them because they owned the land next to it. And they got an appraisal, and the land, it was rural land, but it appraised for $245,000, which we was able to take a tax deduction. We could have made a lot more money on the timber if we cut the timber, but we just didn't want to destroy the timber. But again, it was just something other we learned, and the opportunity didn't turn out like what we started, but it was a wonderful adventure, to take something other from there. We formed a cable TV. I came on one day and my wife said, "How's your day?" or something like that, and I said, "Well," I said, I met with our attorney. Said, "Problems at the bank?" I said, "Oh no," I said, "We forming an LLC." Said, "What's that?" I said, "Well, we're going to build a cable TV company.
I love you. I
She
love
said, you don't even watch television.
I
I said,
love
but,
you.
I
Right.
said, but Phil, honey, the average person watches television about 7 hours a day. And I said, they overcharge. I could even mention her name. Her name's Adelphia. They're part of Comcast today. But what happened? We built a town of Wise where we're located. And then we went to another, and they contacted us and basically threatened us and they cut the rate. But see, I knew the law. The Federal Communications regulates them. They could not go into a town and lower the rates to drive out competition unless they set the same rates all the way across the state. Well, we knew they had hundreds and hundreds of towns and was a big old company. We knew it wasn't going to happen. So we went to the second town, Coburn, which is close by, and we built it. And get back in touch with us, and this time they're getting really serious about offering us. And then we was getting a permit to do two towns the next time at the same time. And then they got back in touch with us, and I don't know. I guess we had it 16, 17 years. It's been some time back, because that's when we charge. They was charging 79 a month. We charged 39, which is half, but we didn't owe them money, and they was taking all their money to buy the competitors up, so they'd have to raise your rates to put their deal, and they kept growing, what have you. But and then it was such an offer we couldn't turn it down. But what happened to them is the owners, they got him for embezzlement from his stockholders. Of course, we took cash, and they sent him to prison, and they were forced to sell, and it's part of Comcast. But it was a good experience. I mean, we back then you only got, it was 50, I believe 55 channels. It was not like today, but
Amazing.
we learned things from it, and we never took money out of it. We just kept putting it back in, building it. So the reason we didn't take money out of it, we didn't need it. But when we did sell, all the money we made was tax capital gains rate, which is 15% versus straight income tax, which was very, very important, the source of it. But it was fun. We didn't even have an office. We had hard people that strung a cable and so forth, and we'd meet in somebody's house or at a restaurant every once in a while and discuss something or other. And we had a limit with the satellite. The thing that we had was about 55, I believe, and we had about 3 or 4 shopping networks, which people love. But then we got criticized. I guess you might call. We hadn't had. I didn't even know existed. Was BET, I guess, in words a black channel for.
Like
And I told the guys, I said, we don't need no bad publicity. I said, we just got to drop one of the shopping networks. And so we looked at the income statement and seen which one you get a percentage of what, if someone clicks on your cable and buys something to order, you get a percentage of sale.
Right.
And so I asked the CPA that does our books, I said, which one are we getting the less money from? And they told us, and we cut that one off and we put that other channel in place of it. But we got people call. I wish you hadn't took that shopping network off, so you couldn't please everybody. But again, it was fun, because if I hooked you up and you've been paying 79, you're now paying 39. You gonna tell you people live next door to you?
Yeah,
Of course.
yes. But you kept seeing a need. You kept seeing a need and filling it.
And like the dry cleaning business, we never took an ad out, and we didn't give coupons. We didn't charge them to hook up. They started paying us right off the bed, and it was fun, but it wasn't that complicated. I can almost do nothing, but I can find somebody like Colin Zane on this thing here, because when we sold the bank, of course, I went from one day. I worked out 2-week notice, and I had a contract. I could have kept working. It's another story, but I had 92,000 shares of stock, and I had a contract. They paid me a year after I left, so I started that job. This was the same, without missing a day. Which I'd eaten one night, and my wife's dad was 85, and she was a volunteer at the dialysis center. I don't know what they do is. I think they take them orange juice or something, or water. When they're hooked up taking dialysis, they can't get up and move. And so, table next to us was a couple of women that Phil knew from being volunteers at the hospital. and they're talking, and I'm eating my salad. I don't pay attention to them really. One of them women said, "Phil, what's Don working at now?" I said, "We know they sold the bank." She said, "Well, I'll tell you about Don. Don ain't never worked at nothing." And she said, "What do you mean?" He said, "He don't do nothing." He said, "He needs something done. He gets somebody else to do it for him." And I think she's wanting to be funny, but I took it as a compliment. And
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
and that's absolutely the truth. Because like nobody ever worked for me. Nobody ever worked for me. They work with me,
I love that.
and that's all the difference in the world. I had a guy coming out of the bank, and he said, "Oh, does that Sturgill girl still work for you?" I said, "Who you talking about?" I said, "Anita." I said, "No." He said, "Didn't she work for you at the bank?" I said, "No, she never worked for me. She worked with me." And
I
then
love
she worked with me at the foundation because when I originally got started, I had an office in the cleaners. I knew I was going to be using it for sell real estate or something else. And
that.
so my friend gave me a desk worth about $5. I went up to Walmart and I went to a Walmart and got a phone and a fax machine built in. It was less than $100, and I paid for it. So of a day or of a night, I had a big old book that had I had. This is before the internet. It was near 2000. A big old book was 295 or something like that. It had a listing of the publishers in every country in the world, and it had their, of course, it had their address and it had their fax number. They had faxes, and it had what kind of books they sold, were self help, management, medical, or whatever. And so I just started at the front of that, and I did a letter. It says, uh, "I noticed your name in the name of that book was, uh, I would like to tell you a little about the Napoleon Hill Foundation. We have such books as Think and Grow Rich and so forth that are sold all over the world." And I said, if you have any interest, you can let me know. And of course, and they did. And I mean, golly, we started making so much money because they didn't have any foreign license, but one. They had one in Japan. That man in Japan came over and got with the foundation. They never even tried to license the foreigners. So it was so easy. But she would come by on her way from the bank. She still worked the bank, and she'd pick up my uh, things I'd written out by hand. She'd type them up, and the next day I'd fax them. And I'm getting replies from all the world. Back then, we had to send an actual book, and send them FedEx. 2 or 3 books cost 50, 100 to $100. But then I limited the contracts for 5 years. I was in mobile banking is because they kept telling me, "Y'all, them people won't pay, they won't pay." Well, I got advance on every single one of them. We're doing business with over 500 foreign publishers, over 500.
Wow.
This past week I see I signed contracts in Poland, Korea, Brazil, 5 or 6 different places, and we get them. We get inquiries. I don't think there's ever a day go by as if somebody don't ask, "Is this book?" And then some stuff you learn. A guy writes a thing and the book's not available. We don't say it's not available. Just that we're sorry that book's not. But we have these other books, and I will list a half a dozen or so of good books that's available in that country, and which leads up to business. And it just keeps on. It's just been like a dream world.
And this is where you are just the genius of how to run a business, and you share your information. And this time went so fast with you. We have like 2 minutes left, and but you're just a wealth. I have to do like a 90-minute special just with you because the time goes so fast, and you have so much wisdom, Don, from life experience and the people you surround yourself with. Eric Swanson introduced us, and what a blessing. What a blessing having met you and been on the phone with you and the conversations I've had with you, that it's just, you're absolutely incredible, and you are a living example of when you put your mind to something, you can do it. Instead of saying I can't do it and making excuses for something, I mean, anything that you put your mind to, you accomplish. no matter what it was. And it's not like you came into the world, like having everything given to you from birth. You had to work for it, but you figured it out. And this book, Think and Grow Rich, which I've been reading since the 90s, when you said that, people really weren't familiar with Napoleon Hill and stuff like that, a few years ago, well, probably like 20, 30 years ago, I was reading him in the 90s. I was reading Think and Grow Rich. And you're now sharing all of it with the world, but not just Napoleon Hill's work, your wisdom with it. And that's priceless. I mean, when you can marry those two and people are on the receiving end of your wisdom and everything that you've done and everything that you pour into the world with all the books that you produce through the Napoleon Hill Foundation, including Think and Grow Rich for Women with Sharon Lechter, and just all of the other Outwitting the Devil and so many things that you and I can talk about that I want the listeners to hear. I definitely would love to have you come back so we can talk about all of this. There's so much wisdom. How can people get in touch with you? How can they reach out?
Our email is Napoleon Hill at UVAWISE.edu. We're on campus, University of Virginia, where I've served on the board for 20 some years. It's Napoleon Hill at UVA, for University of Virginia. It's Napoleon Hill at UVA, WISE, that's the town where this county is born in, WISE.edu. And of course, our website's naphill.org. And it's just amazing the number of people we reached. And you just mentioned that. No, I didn't want to bring it up, but I'm meeting a guy at 3:00, and I'm doing some foreign stuff. He's got a foreign travel agency. He was in my first class, remarkable gentleman. But I was going to take him a copy of it. And that's a little book I was hard to write. It's called Napoleon Hill's Your Millionaire Mindset, but Don Green. They actually asked me to do the book on a little book on wealth, and I did it. And they called me and said, "Oh, they just loved it." Said they just love the book, but the publicity people would like to change the title. And I said, "What do you want to call it?" And they said, "Your Millionaire Mindset," because I said we've done books, but you actually give us some things that they can really do, and put into place. And I said, "Well, I don't have no ego about the name change. But one thing is, I see it's not Napoleon Hill's writings, but it's Napoleon Hill. It's based on it and my banking experience together. Because I'm not promoting Don Green. I'm promoting Napoleon Hill. I don't have that kind of ego. And of course, I've done other books, and this one, I don't know. They watch her. I've lasted in Russia and Korea, and it's not even been released yet. But how they get in touch with us, they go on our website, and we got it's up as a pre-order. So I'll have to look at my contacts and see. Evidently, I didn't send you one. Is that right? I just got some in.
Oh, good.
But I'll make a note. I'll send you the copy of it. Okay.
Thank you, Don. Thank you. You're the best. You're such a blessing. You're a massive blessing. It's just.
I got a little sign on my. I was married 54 years. My wife passed away, be 7 years, April 1. Yeah. But I got a little old 3x5 card on my desk where I ate my oatmeal. It simply says, "God, show me someone I can help today. In Jesus' name, amen." I never, never, never leave this office unless I'll think and say, "What happened today?" And somebody's name will pop up or something or other. I'll sit down and write them. I'll write a note in the book and send them out one. My mom was 90-something before she passed away in her 90s. She said, "Don, you've given away thousands of books," people would say. "Yeah, I guess I have." She said, "You guess they read them?" I said, "Mom, I don't know." But I said, I read the books, and it's made all the difference in the world. And so that's all we can hope for. I'm sure we give a lot of books. It probably never opened to read a few pages or what have you. But it all comes down. I did a fundraiser with Zig Ziglar at a college up in Pennsylvania one time. And his big old picture he sent me and signed it. "God loves you, Don. I do too," back in 2003. But anyway, he said it all, and he summed it up real good. He says, "How bad do you want it?"
Yeah, that burning desire.
Yeah, I don't know how long I'll live. My dad was 76. My grandpa was 76. But I walk 5 miles every day. I'm disciplined. I walk 5 miles. I don't say about every day. I did not miss a single day last year, not one single day. And the year before, I missed 2 days. One of them was a traveling thing, and well, both of them involved traveling. And I just get somewhere time and echo. But I plan my schedule where I can. In fact, as we'll get through this interview, I'm on to the other part of the college and walk a convocation center till I get my 5 miles in. And I do that every day. I'd love to work outside because I live in a neighborhood that's well. I went home yesterday afternoon. I come back and worked a while, and I left my automated gate open because there's nobody home today. I've got a security gate. I just left it open. I stood in my driveway. I guess it looked at me like I was crazy. There's 8 big old deer in my driveway, and I got up real close for them before they ever up and took off. But see, I enjoy the wildlife
Yeah.
where it be a groundhog or the squirrels or birds or what have you. But when I can't do it, I do it on the outside.
You're so good. You're so at 81. You're still walking 5 miles. I keep saying, like, no excuses, people. No excuses for anything, for your mindset, for your physical health, for health and wealth and finances and spirituality and relationships. The Napoleon Hill Foundation, Don Green, has literally the answers to all of it, starting with this one. I applied that to health in the 90s.
I did the course in 1998. Started out here. It's been taught. I taught about numerous times. It's been taught continuously every year since. But the stories from them people, and gosh, I don't know it. I probably didn't. I'll get up and get one. Let's see.
I love you.
Here. I've been asked to speak to a nonprofit on Tuesday. And I laid one out. We don't. This book's not for sale. There's a guy spent a year writing that book. Okay. It says it's 101 attributes you probably didn't know about our esteemed friend, Mr. Don M. Green. I did a guy a favor. He took a year from work, and he's almost done. He's trying to get done my 80th birthday, and he didn't make it. But it's 540, I think, pages. On paper, it's 555. And my friend Jim Brown's is in it that hired me, but I think there were 12 of them. Zane said were students, but he about had it done before I knew about it. But of course, that's the birdhouse on the front. I put 8 of those up to give away the free books at all the libraries in the county, and I keep my car full of books, so I pass by one on my stop. But it's on high grade paper, and it's almost got a picture of everyone in it, and he's even got codes in it that you can click on, and it's a video of me doing a talk on something. I don't know where it is, but I've just it's got the guys that work with me. For example, Brooke, she worked with me. I about had to run off. She worked here with us and kept fussing at her. She was too bright. She was tickled to work. She was doing good, but she'd finished 4 years of school. Finally got her to go. She was an only child. She went to a nearby college about 2 hours away, got an apartment. I think her mother stayed with her most of the time, to tell the truth. But she got involved in lab work, and then she got to go to the University of Texas, full scholarship. But she's a medical doctor. And then the other little girl that worked with us was valedictorian in high school. She worked 6 years, and I said valedictorian. She finished college in 3 years. She went to pharmacy school, and she's a pharmacist. In fact, as Abe got her a job. It's another story. But then Zane has been here since he's 14, 8th grade. That was his sister's a pharmacist. He'd said there were just 2 in the family, and he'd say the dad was an underground coal miner. He said, Sissy worked for Don. Why don't I get to work for Don? Why can't I work for Don? So I told him, I said, when he gets 14, get him a work permit.
Working papers, yeah.
In 8th grade, I started him at $10 an hour. He's 26 years old. He's probably the only kid in the United States at age 17 starts in college. He's he's not only kids have checking accounts, he had a checking account, but also showed him how to set up a stock account. He was buying stock, and he also I showed him how to set up a Roth IRA, put his wages in it. So he's going to be one well-to-do man. So he's been,
Wow.
and he married his little college sweetheart. She's a nurse, and they got a little 18-month-old girl
Oh,
named Catherine. And
oh,
he's got the second best job in the world because he comes to work at 7:30. I let him off at 3 and go pick up his little girl to daycare center because his wife works farther away. So he works from 7:30. He pulls all the stuff up. I don't come in till 9, right at 9.
you're
But
so good. And the way you treat your employees, obviously, you're a living example of how people should treat their employees. And then you'll
well,
get more productivity from them, as the happier they are with you, the more productive they'll be in life,
oh,
at work and in life.
absolutely.
And
I
this,
never asked. I never asked for a raise. I take care of the employees that I work with, and then they asked me, said, "How about you?" I said, "You look at the results and let your conscience be your guide."
I
And,
love
and it's just been it's been unbelievable. I'm not working for the wages, though they treat me unbelievably well. But then it's just what we're doing. And project I'm in now involved in, we're going to teach the course online and pay for it. And it's set up through the University of Virginia, through our credit course on this same material, but except we're paying for it. And the fact is, I was in a restaurant last night, and a little girl said, "Oh," said, "I signed up for your course," because I'd spoke to the high school a few days before that. But we're going to start off with 100 in March, and then our goal is to do in the fall to have 200 students that we're paying for their tuition to take the online course. Get them
Wow.
a little start.
You give him exactly the head start. Wow, you are so good. You are so good. And again, a living example of what we need more of in this world, and what it takes to do well and to be successful. And you live the principles of Napoleon Hill. You truly do. You live the principles of Napoleon Hill. And that's why you're as successful as you are and always have been.
Well, my friend, he's going to walk with me before he goes back to Cape Canaveral. He's got his second home down there, and he's got businesses all over the world. But he was in my first class, and he and I've got this thing saying, we don't go just the extra mile. We go the extra mile and then some.
Yes. Yes.
he
Yeah.
Somebody asked him about something or other. He said, "Believe me, when Jack and Don are working together, the results are amazing because the things that we can accomplish."
And it's
Well,
amazing, Don. There's so many people that go through life and they're trying to get over. They're trying to like skim the corners, and cut corners and stuff like that. And it doesn't get anybody far. You know what I mean? When you go the extra mile, it's just it always pays off when you go the extra mile. I want to
well,
respect your time. I love you.
I do, you too. And Ben said, uh, it's kind of humbling that there's someone write a book about me. And he put on the back of it, I don't even know where he got all this. He's got a few of Don. He was in touch with Zane, and then he got a hold of Zane told him who some of the family member was and the board members, and so he got them through referral. And of course, he even got in touch with the publishers because he'd read our books. And so I had to ask him. I said, Randy, I got a hold of the old girl endorsed the book from Gibraltar Publishing, and I met her at the book fair. I said, how'd you know? How'd she know it's my birthday? And he said, I told her because he corresponded with them, and just open it up. It's amazing. Of course, there's people in here from Liberia and Nigeria and Serbia, but a dozen or so of them are student. I heard one with a lady that taught the course. But I'll have to mail you one of this.
I would love that.
Forget about me. But now there's some wonderful advice. And
I would love it. Thank you.
The trustees and well, I said my friend Jim Brown. I said he let's see, he Well, I won't read the whole thing, but he said he uh, he's attribute number 101, and anyway, uh, he talked about studying engineering, going and going to business. And short after the bank opened, I noticed the management department was lacking, and someone recommended Don Green. I interviewed Don for a job in the management. He was a tremendous asset, and on the next bank audit, the bank examiners gave him high praise for the improvements that had been made. But he also said about after 10 years of excellent turn, the board of directors myself received an offer. The bank decided to sell. Don stayed at the bank for a short time with new owners, but was soon offered the position of CEO of a local bank. This bank was on the verge of being closed because of loss of capital. He worked there for about 20 years, actually 18. And when the stockholders of the bank decided to sell, the bank was profitable. Every year Don was in charge. Don and I quickly developed not only a business relationship, but also a friendship. We continue to stay in touch, even though we're pulled in many directions. One of the best lessons I ever learned in life was to sell an asset when the time is right and not when you are forced to sell. Don also learned this very well. And he's a mentor, he's a donor, he's a supporter, and he will hire anybody I send to him and give a job. He's in the manufacturing, and he's the most intelligent person I've ever been around in my life, bar none. And sometimes we'll talk for an hour on it. And he treats his people unbelievably kind. I could tell you story after story. I had a Muslim kid in my first class, and he worked for my buddy Wendell, had the convenience stores when Wendell sold out. I told him, I said, what do you want to do? I like to stay around here. I got so many friends. He's from Turkey. I told him, I said, you go online at Paramount Manufacturing. And I said, I will talk to Jim. And I said, you let me know when you file it. He did. And I said, now, Ollie Hahn, when Jim interviews you, he will make you an offer. Don't tell him you're going to think about it. He don't like that kind of people. He's going to give you the facts. It's going to be best you'll dream of what you've been doing. And that night he called me back and said, boy, was you right. He said, I can't wait. And he's still there today. And we stay in touch with each other.
Wow.
And I could tell you story after story, but I know you got to go. But I'll send you. I'll put them two books in the mail for you. I better look and say. I'm sure. I put it in my what you call. Hold on, just 1 second. ERIN.
I can't wait to call Eric and just tell him how much I love you and how much I love this interview.
I haven't done it somewhere, but I got your phone numbers and your emails, and you interviewed me 17 and 20. But for some reason, I don't have your mail address in my contacts.
I'll text it to you. I'll text it to you.
Okay.
I'll text it to you for sure. Thank you so much for doing that. I was just saying, I can't wait to call Eric Swanson over the phone and thank him again for connecting us. I love you. And we're writing a book, his Habitude Warrior, The 13 Steps to Riches, based on Napoleon Hill's, the 13 principles in Think and Grow Rich, which is just the blessing that keeps on giving. It just keeps on giving, It's amazing. It's just amazing.
Well, it'll come back to you because if you're doing well, you'll be creative. And I got to be I got one daughter, and she has done so fabulous. It's unbelievable. And she said, my dad is a creative, cluttered genius. Because I got books all over the house, but they said the same thing about Winston Churchill, that he was a cluttered genius.
Yeah.
Saying everything on his desk.
I don't feel so bad anymore. I'm a cluttered genius. I'm constantly creating, so the clutter's okay.
Well, I know the lady that cleans my house and does my clothes. I told Rhonda, you can clean the house, you can clean the floor in the den, but don't touch my books.
Right. I have Violetta. Yeah.
I know everything.
Everywhere.
We got project after project after project going on, and I wouldn't be satisfied otherwise.
I agree. I totally agree. Oh, thank you, Don. Thank you. Okay. You're amazing. Thank you so much.
I enjoyed it, and I hope you did.
I loved it. I totally enjoyed it. Thank you. I'm looking forward to another interview. You're so good. Thank you. And everybody can
Okay.
see this interview on Apple TV and Roku and Amazon Fire, like all the online streaming, TV shows
Okay.
and the podcast through Spotify.
Just
So, and
stay in touch.
I certainly will. Thank you, Don. Love you.
Thank you. See you. Love you.
Take care. All right. So I love him. I absolutely love that man. I love that man. I mean, brilliant. And as you heard, the experience and the wisdom and the love, the heart, I mean, the mind, body, soul connection that that man has and that he shares with all of us. It really is about who are you surrounding yourself with. I feel so blessed to have Don as part of my life and so blessed to have Eric in my life who connected me with Don. And then it's who are you surrounded yourself with? I'm incredibly blessed with the people in my life and so incredibly grateful. And that's where everything begins and ends, right? With gratitude. So I'm grateful for you. And stay tuned each Monday as my guests and I will bring you more insight on how you can keep your life on track and your business personally and professionally. I love you guys. Have a magnificent day. And always remember to live onward and upward. Love you.